Welcome back to 60 Minutes. I'm Josh Tublin, and in this next segment, we'll be talking about a disease that many people have never heard of, but in fact is one of the most common life-threatening genetic disorders. The disease is polycystic kidney disease, more commonly known as PKD, and affects 12.5 million people worldwide each year. But why haven't you heard of this disease? As you will see, one of the challenges in diagnosing PKD is that the symptoms don't arise until late onset. In addition, the disease is often grouped into a category of kidney failure and specifically identified in many individuals. PKD is a genetic disorder in which fluid-filled sacs develop on the surface of the kidneys. Its effects include high blood pressure, kidney stones, blood in the urine, and possible kidney failure. In this episode, we'll hear from patients affected by the disease and Dr. Taylor Schreiber of the Fox Chapel Health System, who specializes in treatment of this disease. Also, we will learn and hear from Jimmy Humphrey, a scientist who is studying the treatment opportunities with this disease.
The disease changed my life in ways I never expected.
Andrew Tublin was diagnosed with PKD at the age of 16. He's a normal kid who likes to play video games.
Andrew, how did you come about discovering that you had PKD?
It all began with pains in my sides and back and unexplained headaches. I just credited these aches and pains to the many stresses of a high school scholar athlete's life. I did not see a doctor until the day there was blood in my urine. That's when I became really worried. Like, this is bad.
The symptoms that Andrew are experiencing are some of the most common in many of our patients. Some of these other symptoms, though, include urogenital tract infections, kidney stones, even frequent urination. But like most patients, by the time they begin experiencing these symptoms, it's already too late, and the kidney is pretty much covered by these cysts at this point.
On the right is a normal kidney. However, on the left is a kidney affected by PKD. You can observe the numerous fluid-filled cysts on the surface of the kidney that reduce much of the normally functioning kidney tissue.
Well, essentially, PKD reduces the regular function of the kidney. The kidneys, which are a pair of fist-sized organs located in the upper portion of a person's abdomen, filter waste and fluid from the blood and produce urine. What's so dangerous about these cysts on the surface of the kidney is that they can slowly replace much of the normally functioning kidney tissue with cystic tissue. I've seen some of these polycystic kidneys grow up to 38 pounds and they appear almost as large as a football.
In a normally functioning kidney, there are repeating units called nephrons. This is where the blood filtration occurs. When blood enters the glomerulus at a high pressure, materials diffuse into and out of capillaries that allows for filtration. Some salts and some water go back into the blood for reabsorption, while most water and nitrogenous waste leave through the ureter to be expelled by the body. In a kidney with PKD, however, much of this tissue is damaged, and therefore the kidney function does not occur as well as it should.
Are there any cures at the moment?
Right now, there is no cure for PKD. About 50% of patients with PKD will ultimately have kidney failure. So the only thing that we really can do right now is order a transplant for these patients. Now, of course, transplants don't always go according to plan, and it's really up to the immune system of the recipient that decides whether or not the organ is foreign and will be accepted. However, there might be new treatment that can slow down the growth of cysts in these patients.
Really? Please tell me about it.
Right now, the most commonly used drug to fight and slow down the effects of PKD is tolvaptan. Tolvaptan fights against the vasopressin receptors. Vasopressin is believed to induce the growth of cysts. Therefore, investigators are testing tolvaptan in animals and human trials to slow the progression of cysts.
So, Andrew, what do you think about this new treatment?
I have faith that this new treatment will help me and others affected by this disease. I hope that this can help me get back to life before PKD.
Someone experiencing the signs and symptoms of PKD might want to have one of the following tests done, including a urinalysis, abdominal ultrasound, abdominal CAT scan, an abdominal MRI scan, or even a check for abdominal tenderness.
Because there is no functional treatment of PKD, we can only treat the symptoms that PKD presents. These include blood pressure medication, taking diuretics, and reducing salt intake in your diet.
Diuretics suppress the normal antidiuretic hormone function in the kidneys. Antidiuretic hormones cause water retention by increasing the permeability of the distal convoluted tubule walls as well as the collecting tubule walls. Diuretics reduce the amount of water retained, thus lowering the blood pressure, which is a detriment for patients suffering from PKD.
Due to the lowered kidney function of a patient suffering from PKD, higher salt levels will lead to higher water retention and therefore higher blood pressure, which, as we know, is detrimental to a patient with PKD.
Controlling high blood pressure may delay the progression of the disease and slow further kidney damage. Combining a low-sodium, low-fat diet that's moderate in protein and calorie content with non-smoking, increasing exercise, and reducing stress may help control high blood pressure.
Because PKD reduces the number of normally functioning nephrons in the kidney, high blood pressure puts a strain on the remaining normally functioning nephrons.
However, medications are usually needed to control high blood pressure. Medications that inhibit angiotensin, an enzyme that constricts blood vessels and causes higher blood pressure, may be used to control increasing blood pressure in people with polycystic kidney disease. However, more than one drug may be necessary for good blood pressure control.
Now, as I understand, there's a dominant form of PKD and a recessive form of PKD. Can you elaborate and help the viewers understand the difference?
Yes, of course. The dominant PKD is more common form of PKD. In this dominant form, we see the bilateral enlargement of both kidneys due to the development of cysts. There are 3 mutations associated with this: the PKD1 gene, the PKD2 gene, and the PKD3 gene. PKD1 is on the 16th gene, while PKD2 is on the 4th, and PKD3 is predicted to be on the 3rd gene.
In regards to the 2 different types of the disease, there are some key differences despite just the patterns of inheritance. For example, in the autosomal dominant version of PKD, we see that it's a late onset disorder, and many of the symptoms and characteristics don't arise until later in life, as opposed to the autosomal recessive version of PKD, in which the patient usually will begin expressing these symptoms very early on, and oftentimes they'll die within just 2 years of birth. With the dominant gene, if just one of the parents has the dominant gene, then the child will have a 50% chance of acquiring the disease. With the recessive disease, however, if both parents are actually heterozygous for the recessive gene, then the child has a 25% chance of acquiring this disease, which makes it much more rare, and we really only see the dominant version of PKD in our population.
With a disease that affects so many people a year, it's important that we continue research and find a cure for PKD. Thank you for tuning into 60 Minutes. Until next time, I'm Josh Tublin. Keep it real.